Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Rutter. I'm the president and founder of New Jersey Cannabis Business Association. We are having a little technical difficulty signing people in right now, but just give us a minute. We have a great guy named George Irwin. He's the president and CEO of Hope Holistic Healthcare. He's got some pretty cool discussion today on cultivation and tissue cultures and wonderful things. But as we're waiting for that, let's thank our sponsors, without whom we would not be here today. Here's George coming online. But
Hey,
George,
Scott.
welcome. I'm just about to do the sponsors. I'm glad we got you on board.
Perfect.
So I'd like to thank our sponsors. We have Sprague Energy, New Jersey Cannabis Business Association's preferred energy provider. We have Financial Resources, Federal Credit Union. We have Curaleaf, Burton Trent Public Affairs, HBK CPAs, Township Green, Fisher and Phillips LLP, Sachs LLP, Dutchy, Puffin, Canna Remedies, and DM Labs LLC. George, how you doing, my man?
Hi, good morning or good afternoon now, everybody. My apologies. For some reason, my computer didn't want to let me in, but I'm here now, so that's good. That's great.
Where you're here. Doing it. So George, I teed you up a little bit while you were logging in, but let's hear about you and Hope Holistic and all the things you guys are up to.
Awesome. I have one question. I'll share my screen. Let's just see. I gotta share. Here it is. How about this? Awesome. I'm gonna move this over here. Can everybody see my PowerPoint?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, awesome. So thanks everybody for joining us. My name is George Irwin. I'm the founder of a lot of different companies, but I'm more proud to say that I'm from New Jersey. I'm born and raised. I'm from North Jersey, Passaic County. I went to Montclair State. Got involved in the green tech space. I am the founder of Green Living Tech, which is a tech company that manufactures products for the green roof and living wall industry. So 24 years later, our products were designed originally for agriculture. I reinvented vertical farming, and it's not quite the vertical farming that everybody thinks it is. I got involved in manufacturing. I got involved in the science of plant health. I got involved in a lot of different things, from education to agriculture, and nothing really struck me more than my experience with cannabis. And I'll tell you why. And it makes me a little emotional, but my son, his senior year in high school, was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now, I never smoked pot or weed, cannabis, call it what you will. I never ate it. I was anti. Being an athlete my whole life, I never really put anything into my body. But cannabis was so profound with my son's recovery from Hodgkin's lymphoma that I decided we're going to enter the cannabis industry, because where I procured his Rick Simpson oil, which is clearly a derivative of cannabis, this was not medical. It was somebody's basement. It was ridden with algae. And I could just tell that this was not the only place that had this impression. Now, right. my previous experience, I've had an opportunity to work with Dr. Pam Weathers from Worcester Polytech. And Pam was absolutely brilliant. She called us up asking us to help her develop a vertical farm in which we can have a controlled environment. At the end of the day, when you control the environment, you control the inputs, you can control the outcome, except for one variable. You have to have the same consistent plant material to start with. You have to have the same plant starts. So that's where I learned about tissue culture. Now, I was also fortunate to be named on a FDA application for the cure for malaria, but more importantly, I took away the benefits of understanding how tissue culture can impact the medical community. And that's how I view cannabis as medicine. Okay. Whether we go into the adult use market or not, whether we do it or somebody else does it, it doesn't matter.
It's always a medicine first. Honestly, it's like one of those magical things, right? Where we might be using it recreationally to have some fun, but we're actually medicating at the same time. It provides that relief for others, and it's a fantastic medicine for sure.
It is, and that's how I still view it. We are very much ingrained in the adult use market, both in New York and New England. Being from New Jersey, we are in the middle of converting our conditional into full licensing. So we're literally days away from putting the rest of our paperwork in to the state. So, but our technology has been featured on every major morning show in New York, from CNN to the Today Show to Good Morning America. I've been blessed to be able to featured in those media outlets. But my true passion is really what we can do for the community and the end user. So our entire motivation in the cannabis industry was to come up and enter the sector in a way that we can impact the outcome, not so much for us as a business. As a matter of fact, I'm going to explain to you in a few minutes how we can be of value to the entire industry. We are not here to compete with other cultivators. As a matter of fact, we're here to help them improve their operations so that they can put out a better product, so that the end consumer has a better product, it's safer, and businesses can predict their yields, okay, or their ROI. So that's my background in tissue culture. So now I can't see any. Let me see if I can see some of these
George,
questions here.
Can I just interrupt you? I know you're on a process here, but I thought,
Please.
we had an earlier conversation, and I thought it was a really interesting story about what you were doing in 2018, what happened, and a pivot to what you started to do in Maine. I'm not sure if you got it covered in here or not, but I think a lot of folks who are right now going through a process would love to hear some of what a challenge that you face and how you pivoted to make lemons out of lemonade.
Yeah, Scott, thank you. Again, I am from New Jersey. I also own part of a manufacturing facility in Rochester, New York, where we make all of our products. But my roots are ingrained here, no pun intended. I'm here in my Atlantic City office with my partner, Miss Phyllis Laka, who is soon to be the queen of all cannabis. But she's an amazing, strong, powerful woman who's actually a very close friend of mine and a mentor. But when I came to Phyllis for a marketing rebrand for my other business, Green Living Tech, we started talking about cannabis, and Phyllis had a close colleague of hers also stricken with cancer, and he was getting some of his product from a local dispensary. At the time, it was Compassionate Care, and he said that, listen, we all need to go into the cannabis business. They were, I guess, allegedly, I say, impressed with my technology. And then I kind of talked Phyllis into going on this like across the country tour, visiting Humboldt County and Colorado, and opening her eyes to the cannabis industry and how we can help. So long story short, we developed some technology that allowed us to get into Compassionate Care and help them. We were contract growing for them as they turned into acreage holdings. But we were actually called up by the state, and the state thanked us for keeping them in business. Our quality of what we were producing was above and beyond anything they've seen. And it all started with our technology. Now, we got out of that agreement so that we can enter the medical market. And we put our application in like everybody else did. And then, God dang it, we got stuck with the lawsuit. Like everybody else, we were hurry up and wait. So meanwhile, we had this amazing technology. We just got out of our contract with Compassionate Care. So we had an opportunity to go into New England, and we took it. So we went to Maine, and we basically set up cultivation. And we realized that, Maine is a very robust boutique style market, and we don't want to compete with the locals, right? They were doing a good job with cultivation. So how can we make it better? So we decided that we're going to build out a tissue culture lab, in which that's what we did. We decided, instead of competing with all the cultivators, we want to work with them and make them all our customer. So we implemented what is now one of 2 nursery licenses, and we're the only tissue culture nursery in the entire state. Okay. Now, what that did for us, that allowed us to pivot into a different business model, unlike anything the industry has ever seen. We actually have the only cannabis tissue culture clone subscription service in the entire world, which means you, the cultivator, can now get rid of your mother room. Okay. And the impact that that has allows us to deliver disease and viroid free clones on a monthly basis, according to your schedule, quantity. It allows you to predict an ROI. It gives you consistency, and it guarantees you disease and viroid free plant stock. And now, anybody who's in cultivation, if you don't know about hops latent viroid, you better learn it, because it's here and it's coming. If you don't have it, you're going to get it. I promise you. The only way to avoid it is to start with clean plant stock. And that's what our business model is. We're not interested when we open up our facility here in New Jersey to compete with the cultivator. We are going to enhance this entire industry by providing you the opportunity to start with clean plant stock, which allows you to predict your ROIs. You reduce the mitigation of disease. Okay, but we can get into that. So our business model and our perspective on this industry is not from a competitive one, but actually to enhance the industry, right? So let's talk about the problems in your mother room to begin with, right? I don't know how many cultivators are on the line right now. I'm just looking at some of the questions here, and we'll get to it here, but your mother room is the epicenter of all your problems, hands down. Okay. What you don't realize is, I don't care how good you design your room, it's never going to be perfect. You probably have poor airflow. You probably have a lot of human error is probably the number one issue. Human error, meaning not cleaning equipment, not washing your hands, not changing your clothes. And it's so easy to transfer disease and viroids from one plant to another. Okay. And then plants are also susceptible to what people are calling genetic drift. It's not genetic drift, it's stress. Okay. We'll talk about this more later, but it's endophytic stress. It's a change in the DNA in which the plant produces internal products and enzymes that eventually carry from one plant to the next plant to the next plant. So by the time you're in generation 3, 4, and 5, your initial mother plant is not the same. Or I'm sorry, your clone is not the same as your initial mother plant. Okay. Tissue culture alleviates all of those problems. Okay. If I had an audience here, I would ask by a raise of hands, who has had problems in their mother? And if you tell me you didn't, I'd probably have to call you out on it. Everybody's had problems in their mother room, one way or another. But what if I can tell you, get rid of your mother room? I can guarantee you better ROIs, better predictability, and risk mitigation. There's so many other more benefits. We can provide you tissue culture clones for less than you can produce them yourself. Okay. I wish we had a live audience here. I'd like to take some questions if anybody.
We have some folks here. Some are, I'm not sure which ones are cultivators or not, work for a cultivation company or not. But what we do, George, we do push this out. So we do get some slides later on. So this will be on YouTube. We push it out. But I think right now, like as I look at this, the profitability for that cultivator is utilizing your culture. I can now utilize the mother room for growing. Like what are other financial benefits of using your subscription service? And are you going to adopt subscription service that you have in Maine? Are you going to adopt the same sort of process here in New Jersey?
Yeah, absolutely. A matter of fact, as I scroll through some of this PowerPoint here, and I hope everybody can get an idea of what tissue culture is and some of the clones that we deliver, but we do have tangible benefits, right? When you start to talk about the monetary gain by using tissue culture clones, whether you're doing it or have the capability to do it in-house, or you actually, join some type of subscription or delivery in which we provide, you have, number one, cleanliness, right? You have guaranteed plant stock. You have shorter veg time. So that means you can actually probably get a 5th round of cultivation in your entire facility. So let's take that mother room. Let's just assume that mother room is 500 square feet. Okay, if you're dedicating 500 square feet to a mother room just to maintain plants that are going to risk your entire facility, let's flip that. And whatever metric you're using, if it's costing you, say, $15,000 a year to maintain that mother room, you can actually flip that, take that $15,000, purchase tissue culture clones, and actually take that and probably get closer to a $50,000 to $75,000 profit margin. Right. So when we
So,
talk about ROI, it's not just in flipping your mother room into a cultivation room. It's also protecting the rest of your crop. It's also increasing the yield on the rest of your crop cycle. We're not just talking about the one room. So,
so
one
we got a guy here named Kyle is asking, with HLVD on the rise throughout the country, do you anticipate more cultivators, corporate MSOs moving towards tissue culture for future production instead of traditional cloning? So do you see a trend going on, not just on, say, craft cultivators, but do you see it on a more large scale?
They've tried. Okay, the multi-state operators, are heavily ingrained in understanding what and why quality is important. But I got to tell you, it took us a solid 3 years of ongoing investment to establish a tissue culture lab. Okay. We house close to 165 different cultivars right now. And all of that requires manpower, requires an amazing amount of equipment, specialty equipment. As a matter of fact, I have some of the pictures up on, what we actually do. You can't just jump into tissue culture.
Okay.
Okay. Because number one, there's testing. You actually have to pheno hunt your tissue cultures. Right. In our facility, we've gone through 165 different cultivars where we have gone through months and months and months and months of trials and subculture and subculture and subculture to find a single plant that gives us the traits that we're looking for so that it's easily subcultured. Meanwhile, at the same time, we have to have our internal protocols to make sure that that cultivar stays disease and viroid free. So the big MSOs, yeah, they can probably talk about going into tissue culture, but it's not an add-on to an existing business. It's very difficult.
Well,
Right?
I guess maybe it's do you see yourself, I mean, your particular model, I mean, being adopted, like utilizing your services, like, so the craft cultivators, larger ones, I mean, do you see, I guess the question is, because I think where people are trying to get to right now is a consistency with strains, right? So that I know that if I buy this strain, whether I buy it at this store, or that store, that it's going to be very consistent across the board. So therefore, the impact on me and my endocannabinoid system, that it's going to be a consistent one. And I think that's the biggest challenge right now in cultivation is, you hear about a strain out in California, you're here on the East Coast, you see the same exact strain, you look at the profile, but it's probably not going to be the exact same. In fact, it won't be. The water is going to be different. The soil is going to be different. The process is going to be different. So how does tissue culture benefit the consumer?
Well, rinse and repeat, right? Cannabis is a rinse and repeat business when it comes to cultivation. Once you have a process, you follow the same process day in and day out. The only variable, just like it was at Worcester Polytech with Dr. Pam Weathers and I, was the plant. The plant was the variable. So tissue culture removes that variable. I have a slide up right now of our tissue culture rooms. This is a room that was, I'm not a tissue culture room. This is a cultivation facility, one of our customers. And that particular picture, what you're looking at, it's laser level consistency. Those plants were put in 12 days after being delivered to our customer. So what you're seeing here is an amazing, it's almost photoshopped. It's so consistent. So that's one of the benefits. And I think Kyle mentioned something about hops latent, right? Which is, it's a disease that's running rampant right now. And hindering a lot of your growers. I don't care how big you are, but it's really reducing yields. So when we talk about consistency, tissue culture is really the only way to be able to deliver that consistency. And to the end user, we know we're starting with clean plant stock. So if the cultivator is following protocol in which cleanliness is probably the number one the number one thing they need to follow. It's rinse and repeat. You start with good plant stock, and you're doing the same thing every day, every week for the next 3 months. You are going to be able to predict your yields. Okay. Every plant is the same. Every outcome should be the same. Okay. There's not a cultivator who can actually say that right now. Every cultivation cycle could be pot luck. And this is actually one of the things that the state gave us a lot of credit for when we were cultivating for compassionate cares, is our consistency. Not only did we outgrow them, but we out tested them, and our testing was less than 5% deviation on every crop cycle. So predictability, helping these cultivators not only produce a better product, but also to provide a safer product. And in turn, they can predict ROIs and be better profitable. So
Is it the same process? I mean, so the tissue culture for cannabis is the same process as other plants.
Well, listen, tissue
Or
culture.
do you have to create something somewhat new because it's a different type of industry or processing or what have you?
I didn't invent tissue culture.
No, yeah.
Okay. But we're pretty good at manipulating it, right? So what it really comes down to is manipulating the media. So you can see in my slide here, right? We have a triage room in which we take in new plants that's separate from our facility. It goes through a cleansing process, and then we go through an establishment process. So here in this test tube, you'll see a liquid media where the base is an agar, which gives it some solidification. But then, there's a variety of different salts, micros and macros, and frankly, different hormones that are going to tell the plant what it should be doing. Should it be rooting, or should it be multiplying? Okay. Each and every cultivar utilizes a variation of this media. What we found over the years, that one media recipe may work really good for these cultivars. Another media recipe works better for these cultivars. So that's why I say it's not so easy to just jump into the tissue culture game. So when we have 165 cultivars for our clients to choose from, a lot of them, frankly, started with our existing customers. We could also take in plant material, test it. If it's clean, we'll go ahead and micropropagate it and get it cleaned up and rid of endophytes so that we can sell it back to them. One of the things we didn't get to talk about is, let's see, meristem harvest, right? Where we actually start with the single most newest cell of the plant. We get into meristem harvest, where theoretically that initial cell is not connected to the vascular system, which transports disease and viroids. Now, to propagate a plant from this meristem could take 18 to 24 months. It could take forever. So as a cultivator, what do you do? What are you supposed to do? Well, that's why we have 165 cultivars that allow you to choose from until you want to go back to your cultivar. So it's much more than what people think. It's not just micropropagation.
Are you able to create new strains through this process too?
How you ironically bring that up. So I also have part of a patent that includes what we call protoplast fusion, where we actually fuse two cells of a plant. Okay. The idea of fusing let's say a basil plant and a cannabis plant to grow THC infused basil or some derivative, right, is just next generation manipulation.
Wow,
I think I think the breeding program is going to end up going that way. Okay, where we can basically fuse cells of two different plants to come up with traits that are desirable. But I think we're a little ways away from that. Right now, we have to get acceptance. Number one, from the industry as a whole, and number two, from the decision makers, right? So when we're working on our applications in these various states, New England, New Jersey, it's very difficult for the decision makers to understand what tissue culture really is and how it can benefit the entire industry, right? I've also been successful with synthetic seeds. It's not my favorite, right? To be able to create a calcium chloride coating on a micro cutting and transport them. So there's a lot of different technologies that we've implemented, but by far the simplest and the most beneficial right here, right now, is micropropagation in the form of tissue culture. It overall has tangible ROIs. It has tangible benefits, and it does nothing but improve the quality and quantity for the general public. I can sleep at night, especially in our retail store. Our retail store, in order to be one of our vendors, you have to also be one of our tissue culture customers, because on our shelf, I know we have some of the best products in all of New England, because every one of our vendors is also our tissue culture customer. I know for a fact that they're starting with the absolute best plant stock that there is. So
what a great, I mean, honestly, what a great concept. And it's where we're going. We're going to innovation. People want consistency. They want to know every time that they get this particular strain. It might be for a medical person, it might be a child with Dravet syndrome, and they really need a very specific strain to alleviate their seizure disorder. So no, I think this is great, George, and I do see the value, the immediate economic value for cultivators, but also for the customer as well. Just making sure they're always going to have that consistency on the strains. So this is
I'm really an industry disruptor in a good way. I'm not here to compete with anybody. A matter of fact, we're here to embrace the entire cannabis community, every cultivator on the East Coast, and we want them to be our customer, because at the end of the day, our entire business MO is to impact the community, whether it's job creation or whether it's better product to the end user, whether it's a better ROI to the customer. We are a triple win for the entire state.
Right on.
So
great, George. Is there anything else you want to add to this conversation, George? Anything we left out in the conversation?
Well, again, we're available for consult unfortunately, we're not going to be up and running here for a while. We're just getting our paperwork in, but, listen, I'm always willing to help cultivators improve what they're doing right here, right now. Especially with a lot of these micro licenses coming on board. If you need help, we're here, right? We're a team player. We're not a competitor. So reach out to us and ask for help. That's what we're here for.
Well, definitely. And what we're going to do then is after this, what we typically do, and just want to let the audience know as well, we do push this out several times. We'll make sure we have your contact information there, any website or email that you would like us to share, because I do think this is a very innovative. I've heard people talk about it a lot, but now it's nice to see it becoming a reality.
Yeah, it's not something that we dreamed up overnight. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with other people who are better than I am, and we have an amazing staff, amazing leadership, and everybody is on the same page of exactly what the MO is. Right at the end of the day, our business is here to support the industry and those around it. So,
right on.
All right. Well,
right on. So look, George, stand by right now and don't leave just yet.
No, I'm in no rush.
Because I want to talk about, we have an event coming up on October 4th. Where Jenna's going to put that graphic up on the screen. But here's what we're doing on October 4th. It's our second annual. It's called Cannabis Connection. It is not like a traditional conference where we have speakers and panelists and you just sit there and listen. It is intended to be more of like a speed dating exercise, whereby where you have a cultivator who's going to be sitting around a table. We'll have manufacturers, dispensary operators, all there. I think we're getting a graphic now, where we can share. This is actually a picture of our last event. So again, cultivators on the left, operators, dispensary operators, manufacturers on the right, and people rotate around so that you're meeting your supply chain partners. You're meeting the people you're going to be working with. Not everybody stood up yet. I myself, I'm still going through the process right now of opening my own dispensary, Township Green. But all of us, who are going to be in this space should be there to understand who your partners are, where your supply chain is going to come from, where you're going to be placing your products on whose shelves, and all that kind of good stuff. So that's on October 4th. You can register on our website. And again, I want to thank our sponsors, Sprague Energy. Hold on one second. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're going to Sprague Energy, New Jersey Cannabis Association's Preferred Energy Provider, Financial Resources Federal Credit Union, Curaleaf, Burton Trent Public Affairs, HBK CPAs, Township Green, Fisher and Phillips LLP, Sachs LLP, Dutchy, Puffin, Canna Remedies, and DM Labs LLC. George, you were fantastic. This was probably the most forward-looking view of cultivation we've had yet. So I really appreciate your time and your investment into New Jersey, for sticking with the process and being here, moving into Atlantic City, right?
We're locals, 4 locals, buddy.
They're all right on, right on. All right, guys. Well, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you soon on Lunch and Learn. Hope to see everybody on October 4th. Take care.
Thank you.